Today, I want to talk about other forms of violent and property crimes that are on the books in Colorado. In most states, assault and battery are two common crimes against persons. And in most states, they are generally two separate offenses, where assault involves everything in the buildup and battery is the physical follow through. So, as the buildup, assault essentially relates to putting someone in fear of imminent harm. In Colorado, assault means something different. And what we are talking about in most states in terms of assault is called menacing in Colorado. So, menacing is like pretending to throw a punch and making the other person believe it was going to happen. So, legally, it can be as simple as threatening to hurt someone. You don't even have to land the punch, but just making someone believe that by your threats or actions that they are about to be hurt, that can actually count as menacing. So, for example, you wave a baseball bat at your neighbor while screaming, "I'm going to break your legs." Like that would be menacing. A person hiding their hand in their coat and saying, "I have a gun, don't make me use it." Even though they don't actually have a weapon, it doesn't matter. If they put someone in fear of imminent harm, through their actions or behaviors, it could be considered menacing. Whenever you hear the term battery in a legal sense, it essentially means unwanted physical contact, however slight. However, in Colorado, battery is actually called assault and relates to physically contacting someone and causing injuries. And assault in Colorado varies from simple to aggravated depending on the severity of the injury and whether a weapon was used. So, assault would be in Colorado be you push someone into a wall during an argument. That's assault because you made physical contact. And so again, Colorado doesn't refer to physical violence as assault and battery. They refer to it as menacing and assault. And so in this context in Colorado, assault is the unwanted physical contact causing injuries. That is a follow through, where menacing is putting someone in fear of imminent harm. And so it's the threats and everything leading up to the physical contact, but doesn't always involve physical contact. Next, I want to talk about robbery. And so, robbery is not just stealing, it is stealing with force or intimidation. And a lot of people confuse robbery with burglary. Like when anybody's apartment is burglarized, a lot of times people will say, "I was robbed," but in reality, they were burglarized. But, usually when people find out that they are burglarized, talking about the specific types of crime may not always be the most appropriate in that moment. But anyway, a lot of people confuse robbery and burglary. So the former is a violent crime, while the latter is a property crime. And what makes robbery a violent crime is that it involves a property crime such as theft, but enacted through the use of force, fraud, or intimidation. So, for example, you snatch someone's purse while yelling threats, that would be robbery. You hold up a convenience store with your hand in your pocket pretending you've got a gun, that's still robbery. Even if you don't actually have a gun in your pocket, or if it was like a banana, it doesn't matter. If you shove someone out of the way and steal from them, or you force someone to give them all the money or and their phone in their pocket because you're using force or intimidation and coercion, it is now not just a property crime, it is a violent crime and it is robbery. Another violent crime is going to be sexual assault. And in Colorado, sexual assault means penetration without consent. So consent is the golden ticket, and without it, it is a crime. So, for example, somebody can be charged with sexual assault if they use alcohol or drugs to incapacitate another person and then assault them. It could also be sexual assault if a person forces their partner into sex against their will, even if they are married, because marital rape is a crime. And so there's also a continuum of sexual violence that ranges from unwanted touching all the way to violent rape. But essentially, sexual assault is unwanted touching, usually involving penetration. Turning to property crimes, so burglary is not the same as robbery. Burglary is simply entering a dwelling with the intent to commit a crime. Force isn't required, property damage isn't required. It is just someone had the intent to enter into a dwelling. A dwelling could be a store, it could be a house, it could be a tent, it could be a shack in the back. It is a dwelling with the intent to commit a crime. And so it could be someone breaks into a house planning to steal jewelry. That would be burglary. Someone sneaks into a business after hour planning to commit arson. That would be burglary. And so the law doesn't actually care whether you actually stole anything. Just breaking in with intent is enough. So yes, if you break into a bakery at 2 a.m. planning to steal muffins, it's still burglary, even if you get caught at the door. Robbery involves people, burglary involves places. Talking about larceny, which is just a fancy term for theft. And so if you ever hear the term larceny, that essentially just means theft. It's a classic grab and go theft. There's no intimidation, no force, just unlawful taking of property with the intent to deprive that person of that property. So shoplifting clothes at the mall, taking someone's bike from their yard without asking, these are all incidents of larceny. Larceny is the most common crime in the United States year to year. And in Colorado, if you steal something worth more than $2,000, congrats, you just upgraded to a felony. So violent crimes tend to involve force or fear, while property crimes usually involve taking or damaging stuff. And the law is clear and cares a lot about intent, force, and how much of a jerk you are about it. And if you remember nothing else, just remember, if you wouldn't want your grandma to read the police report out loud at Thanksgiving dinner, probably don't do it.